Breaking news today. Wang Yi, China's top diplomat, will travel to Russia for strategic discussions. As Moscow seeks continued support for its war in Ukraine, China's top diplomat Wang Yi is in Russia for security talks. Beijing, a close ally of Moscow, has been accused of providing Russia with covert support during the conflict. U.S. officials are worried that North Korea and Russia will make an arms deal, so they invited him to visit after Vladimir Putin met with Kim Jong-un. The Russian media reported that Mr. Wang's visit would pave the way for Mr. Putin to make a historic visit to Beijing in the near future. Mr. Putin indicated earlier this month that he and Chinese President Xi Jinping would meet, but he did not specify when. Since the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for him in March for war crimes in Ukraine, he has not gone anywhere outside of the country. Mr. Putin's last trip to another country was to Belarus and Kyrgyzstan in December of 2022. According to the Chinese Foreign Ministry, Mr. Wang is spending 4 days in Russia for strategic security consultations. The Kremlin-affiliated TASS news agency reported that he would meet with his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov, and that they would discuss the conflict in Ukraine. The expansion of NATO forces and infrastructure in the Asia-Pacific region, and strengthening their coordination in international groupings like the UN, are also on the agenda. In what ways is China helping Russia? Kim and Putin make their relationship public, but is it for show? Mr. Wang's visit follows closely on the heels of Mr. Putin's controversial greeting of Mr. Kim, which the U.S. has claimed was to discuss the sale of North Korean arms to Russia. It is speculated that Moscow is experiencing a dearth of both weapons and ammunition. Military cooperation and assistance for Pyongyang's satellite program were reportedly discussed between Russia and North Korea. In response to questions about Mr. Kim's visit last week, the Chinese Foreign Ministry said it was something between their two countries, and therefore had no comment. Since Beijing has such strong ties with both North Korea and Russia, some experts believe that China is aware of, or at least complicit in, their mutual support. Their shared antipathy toward the United States and the West is just the beginning of the ties that bind them together. When it comes to trade, Beijing has long been Pyongyang's lifeline. In the past year, however, Beijing has begun to become Moscow's as well, thanks to increased purchases of Russian oil and gas. Whatever is going on between Russia and North Korea, China must be aware of it. According to Alexander Korolyov, an expert on China-Russia relations at Australia's University of New South Wales, I don't think they would cooperate militarily without Beijing's approval. He even suggested that China might view North Korea as a useful proxy to aid Russia in the conflict in Ukraine. One way to aid Russia with minimal damage to its reputation would be to give the green light for North Korea to begin military cooperation with Russia. The rogue regime in North Korea, whose actions have nothing to do with them, could be the scapegoat. If this is the case, he said, that would be a wise decision. Mr. Wang's trip to Russia follows his meeting with U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan the previous day in Malta. According to official statements from both countries, the two leaders had discussed regional security and the conflict in Ukraine. Although the United States may be in talks with China to put pressure on North Korea to end any cooperation, Mr. Korolyov speculated that it was unlikely China would actually do so. According to him, China had more than a year to end the war, if they wanted to play ball the American way, but they chose not to. The United States is eager to open dialogue with North Korea but is unsure of the best approach to take. Since the beginning of the war, the United States has accused China of providing economic aid to Russia and supplying crucial technology. Beijing is pursing a variety of economic support mechanisms for Russia that mitigate both the impact of Western sanctions and export controls, according to a July report from the U.S. intelligence community. According to the report, China is probable to supply dual technology, items which could be used for both civilian and military purposes, such as drones, for use in Ukraine, and is increasing its purchases of Russian energy exports and use of its currency in transactions with Russia. China has always denied the allegations and claimed it takes a neutral stance on the war. During Mr. Wang's hectic diplomatic mission to Moscow and Putin earlier this year, China unveiled its own peace plan for the Ukraine.